was born by the roadside, somewhere in County Kildare.
I think it's all over. It is, and Kildare are the champions. Champions for the first time in 42 years.
And it's the red I will repair.
The Cora of Kildare.
Kildare Speaks with Fia Rua. Hello and welcome to Kildare Speaks with me, Fia Rua. We are on week number 5. I want to thank everybody who's been listening to the podcast. You can follow us on the Facebook page, Kildare Speaks Podcast. You can also listen to the podcast on all platforms, on Spotify, on Spreaker and on iTunes and all the rest of it. So this podcast is brought to you by Kildare County Council. I want to thank them for sponsoring the podcast, and we are interviewing people and groups from around the county of Kildare. Over the next few weeks I'm going to be interviewing more people. This week I'm going to interview a musician called Enda Reilly. Enda is a great singer-songwriter. Now Enda I met in Leaslip when he was living in Leaslip in the part of Kildare, but he's recently moved to the United States of America, so I thought it'd be an interesting experience to have a listen to Enda and see how things are over in America with the COVID business and all the rest of it, and also have a chat with him about streaming music and doing live Facebook gigs and all the rest of it, and basically how things have changed for musicians since the whole lockdown, or whatever you want to call it, COVID situation. So this interview was done via Zoom. Now, of course, when you're doing interviews with Zoom, the recording quality is not not of the same quality as it would be when you're interviewing people in person, as I have been doing for the last few weeks. Speaking of the last few weeks, there's been a lot of nice messages about last week's podcast with Linda Allen. So if you want to hear that, just have a listen to it on the Facebook page or on the previous episodes of this podcast. They should all be up there. We're on number 5 now. So the first podcast was with Clay Tennis Club as part of Crinan and Nog. Second one then was with Ger Lachlan over in the barge trips over in Salons. Third one, Mario Corrigan. Or fourth one, Mario Corrigan. Fifth one then. Where am I going? Third one was Mario Corrigan. Fourth one was Linda Allen. So we've got lots of cool guests over the last few weeks, and we'll have more in the coming weeks. So please subscribe and follow us and tell people. Telling people is the best way to spread the word, I find. So text people or WhatsApp people and say, have a listen to this podcast, and before we know it, we'll have a bit of a following. So that's the plan anyway. I want to thank Kildare County Council again for helping us get this out there. So without further ado, here's my interview with Enda Reilly via Zoom. Enda is based over in Michigan. So enjoy, folks. Thanks very much. So, Enda Reilly, how are you today?
I'm good, thanks very much, Alan.
So, Enda, whereabouts in the world are you today?
I am in a place called Southfield, Michigan, but
right.
It's better to say I'm in Detroit, Michigan, because it's pretty much the extended area of Detroit.
When you say extended area, does that mean you're 100 miles from the nearest shop or post office or anything?
Well, we are at what is called 10.5 mile, which means the city centre is right down 10.5 miles from us. So that's how far it is to the city centre, as it were, of downtown Detroit. But and then they have the rest of the whole city is broken up into different boxes, which they call cities. So I'm in the city of Detroit, or city of Southfield. But anyway, I'm learning all this. The first day I was here, or the first time I was over here, there's a guy called Mick Gavin, who's a great fiddle player, and I was meeting up with him, and he was saying, which city are you in? And I'm like, I'm in Detroit. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
But so Southfield, and it's a lovely area. We've got there's deer running around here, and there's rabbits and blue jays and red cardinal birds, all these birds, and at the moment the weather is amazing. It's too good most of the days. You can't go out, but it's nice. It's nice, but Lovely. It gets real cold in the winter. Then it's season.
So the last time we were talking, Enda, was over in Leaslip in County Kildare, where you were a resident for a while. You were living there for a while, is that right?
We were there about 5 years, yeah.
Okay, 5 years. So you would have got a good feel for the place been there for 5 years in around the Leaslip area.
Yes, we did. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, we were living there on Mill Lane, just at the exit there to St. Catherine's Park. Oh, it was a beautiful place, and lots of walks down St. Catherine's Park, and easy to go and get the bus into Dublin and all that type of thing. So, yeah.
Were you aware of the history of the Guinness family and Leaslip in that area as well? Did you ever hear about that?
I've heard a bit about it, and I never got to go in to see the castle there. I believe you can get in, so that should be something I do when I go back. I can, but just organising it. We never got around to doing it.
Okay, so Enda, you're a singer-songwriter, and my first experience of your music would have been your first album that you recorded back in I think it was 2007 or 8, and it was one of the first albums that I heard maybe that would have been recorded by the artists themselves. And was that an exciting period, or is it true to say that was recorded at home, or?
Yeah, well, growing up, being a musician, even from the start, recording ourselves always part of it, and just learned as you went. You know, it was all digital, so it wasn't this kind of analog stuff. It was like a cheap Boss recorder is what I had, and then just kept learning. And then I did a course in Berklee College of Music in the US. That was on an online course, actually.
Really, that was very early online course.
Yeah, it was pretty decent course. It was called Recording and Producing in the Home Studio, because I had spent a lot of going to IMRO, the Irish Music Rights Organisation, to their workshops, and in fact, even we went to Rossnowla and places like that to write songs. So I'd learned a lot about songwriting, but then you need to make a demo or release it. So after I did that course with the I felt that I had confidence enough to put out my own album, which was called Oxygen 21.
Yeah, that was around 2000.
Yeah, that was 2008.
8, yeah.
2008, yeah. So that, yeah. Since then just different collaborations, and keeping at it, recording, and more recently then kind of, because a lot of what I do is quite live, recordings. I've kind of, I play the guitar and sing at the same time. So that it helps to do that visually then as well with YouTube and everything. So I've kind of been concentrating on the videos for the last while, although I'm kind of feeling the hankering to go back now and maybe work in the audio world again a bit with the whole overdubbing and layering.
Yeah, I was sorry, and I was thinking about that actually, that you have done a lot of stuff online and streaming and stuff like that. Do you ever get and that's a kind of a, did you ever wish that you were back in the studio again? It was back in the old days before the streaming, or do you see much of a difference between doing the live streaming and going into a studio and recording an album? Is it a different process completely, do you think, or?
For me, not so well. They are different because you get to overdub, and you get to it's almost liberating in a way doing the live streams, because you just do it. It's usually when you're singing into mics in the studio, you're trying to get everything perfect. Whereas a live gig, as it were, is about entertaining people and having a bit of crack, and it's a slightly different thing. So it's definitely, everybody is learning that there's a, all the new kind of making up the rules, or learning how to entertain people online is very interesting. And so that's been I started doing live streams actually about 10 years ago. And then then I stopped it, and then I did it a few years ago again, another 3 or 4 years ago. I set of them. So when it came around again and was doing, it was like, well, I have everything I need. I better and just jump on board and get cracking with this and see how we go.
It's just you must have been sitting there going, oh, I've been doing this for the last 10 years, this streaming thing, and then suddenly the whole world is doing it. It must have been an interesting experience to observe.
Yeah, but this is the thing. There's everything has its time, you know, and I was kind of it fulfilled a role for me at that time. In that my wife was actually over in America for a year, and I was in Ireland, so I was kind of playing music for her, and we kind of had it was the hut. And so yeah, everyone would come. And we had a little. It was nice. There was about 20 people or something who would come each week, and that was great. And then a few years back, something similar again. They're still up online, and actually, because I'm in a studio then, and I recorded all of them in good quality, so I released that as an album itself called From the Live Stream. Right. So so I'm probably going to do something similar with the 15 or so that I've done already here, because I always record the good audio.
So at the moment you're doing every Sunday or Saturday. Is it Saturday?
Every Saturday, yeah.
At what time is that?
It's interesting. That's live at 5:00 Irish time. So every Saturday I will be going live. There's a few times now I've been chatting with some of the festivals over here, the festivals, and I might be doing some gigs live for them too.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting.
That's another thing that I've noticed. Like the likes of venues like the Barras and Roisin Dove here in Ireland, and maybe Whelan's I might have got into it as well, and festivals too. I'm actually doing something this weekend for a festival, where the festival or the venue is asking the artists to do a video for them, and they'll put it on their page on social media, and the chances of getting watched is hugely increased.
Yeah, it's great. Everyone seems to be engaging with it in a different way. I guess the way I'm going to be doing it is to go live on their Facebook page, as it were. So, so that's it'll be interesting to see. And then people seem to be open to having a tip jar that people throw you a couple of quid, which is very nice too. And so that seems to be, people have been very generous. And I think people, because you can't go to a pub, or I don't know, have the pubs opened again in Ireland?
They have opened, but as regards live music and stuff, that's a no-go. You have to serve food as well in the bar.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. I think people just had that kind of need for, and people can chat in the as well in the box that goes with the.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I found when I did my first few Facebook Live gigs that it was a performance, or I got the same energy, say, as I would when I'm doing a live gig, even though it's definitely not the same, but it's definitely an art form, and it's definitely something that I was excited by, to be honest with you, because I was doing it every night. But there's definitely a performance level to this live streaming Facebook stuff, isn't there?
It is. It's an interesting one. I kind of tend to go off on one, chatting away to myself almost, or trying to rebound off some of the comments that people are making, and hopefully be somewhat entertaining, and let people into the thoughts that are behind some of the songs and things like that, you know. But it's tricky enough, because you're trying to sort out the sound and make sure that the mics are working and your reverb is okay, and maybe I have a few pedals, guitar pedals, and then, you know, if you're, I had set myself some challenges, so I did like a W.B. Yeats themed event. So I have set music to a lot of Yeats's work over the years, and so I did a whole hour and a half of W.B. Yeats, and then I did a whole hour and a half of Dublin. So that was interesting. It was fun to do those things.
You've had a varied career, in a sense, because you've been quite prolific over the last few years. You know, as you said, you mentioned you've done an album with Stephen James Smith, the poet, or the spoken word artist, and you've gone into global warming, and you've gone into the Irish language. But I'm just curious, Are you choosing? Are you more picky about what live gigs you choose to do these days?